Here are some of the lessons I've learned in 2023. And let me just start off by saying 2023 definitely was an experience, okay? It did not feel like my year. It felt like tribulations, trials and tribulations. But we all do know that with trials and tribulations comes the testimony. So I'm going to share it all, what 2023 was for me. Let's go. Okay, so in the beginning of 2023, there was some leftover residual, like chapters that need to be closed, like loose ends that were being tied up, and from 2022 to 2023. And some of those were investments and relationships. Let's start with the investments. So I did a fix a flip and partnered with some people. This is my first time ever partnering. The only partner I've ever worked with was my spouse, okay? My husband, the real partner, okay? My life partner. And so with our first investment, we did pretty decent. We learned a lot of things on how things should be, how we would want things to go differently the next time. So with our second fix to flip, we decided to do things differently. And we partnered with other people because we felt like, okay, we got something under our sleeves. We kind of know what we want, what we don't want. Needless to say, it was a shit show. Okay, for the lack of better words. And we feel terribly. Really, everything that could go wrong with that investment did go wrong. From the wrong contractors. We had 3 different contractors. Then we tried to do just we be the contractors and subcontracts. Like everything that could go wrong went wrong, and we took a big loss. We took an extreme L, and so basically I am still recouping from those L's. But such is life. I don't know anybody who took a risk on their life that did not experience failure or debt. It doesn't stop me. It just helped me learn to what I would do differently and the lessons that I've gained throughout this experience, which I will get to at the end. All right. So next is those relationships. Oh yeah, let me track back. So I had another investment that I did that I invested into my business. And so it was on the online course side. And so there's this particular person, I'm not going to name names here because it's pointless unless you guys are really wanting to know so you can avoid. And for some people it worked. For others like me, it did not work. And I'm not saying that it's not working. Maybe it's just taking its time to really work for me. Maybe there were other things I needed to work on. But at the same token, I don't think it was really in alignment per se, like energetically wise with my business, like the way that they did things. So I spent a significant amount of money. I don't even care to state how much because I'm still like, girl. And I was really at the point where I was desperate and I wanted to move myself from behind a chair. And I have this patented technique, and I really wanted to put my money where my mouth was, and invest into my online course. And so I've done that before, and it wasn't this amount. I spent my first investment in my online course was my time, of course. And then the second one, I was like, let me put some money into it because I really don't know what I want, what I'm doing. And I really want people to really grow from this experience, really make money from this, really, hone in on their craft and just, flourish, right? That was the whole point. I wanted to impact people's lives in such a positive way. And I did. And that investment came full return. And I'm not saying that this won't. That one took some time, but not as much time. And I think we kind of get into this place of instant gratification, but they also do sell you that though. They sell you that you're going to be rapid fire. And that's not always the case. Although they had a lot of support, I really thrive off of intimate settings. Like more so one-on-one group. So if it's like a lot of people, and I'm not really being heard or seen, and I can't get that, one-on-one experience, even though they had that, I get intimidated and I don't ask the right questions. I can't think of the right questions, and I kind of shut down. So I had to step away from that. Even though I learned so much and implemented what I could, it just wasn't for me in the way that it was, and was in alignment. And like I said, I joined this thing out of place, and that might have been the issue. I joined this thing out of a place of desperation. Not saying that desperation isn't a great way. What I'm trying to say, like, desperation has its significance in life, right? Where you're desperate enough to really want to make a change. And that's where I was at. And I made this huge decision to make a financial investment, and it just didn't pan out in the time and space that I wanted to. Because one, these people who joined had made like a significant amount, and I did too. I made 6 figures. So I said, well, why not, double my worth and make more? If I joined this, I felt like I was going to be there. But it was like just too many sectors going on in it, and I couldn't really hone in, and I was doing a lot too. At that same token, I had to move from where I was. This is going to get into the failed business relationships, or not even failed, the separation, right, of that business relationship that I had. So I was at this place where I was also building my salon. I had to move from where I was, I was in a suite. It was a big, beautiful suite, 2 rooms. I had space enough for 3, maybe 4 stylists, because it was 2 rooms into 1. It was huge, bigger than these salon suites that I now am in. And I didn't want to ever be in one, but I love being by myself now. We'll get to that. So, I was in that space where we had to move, and I had to find a place. So just so happened, I told a client about my situation, that I had 30 days to move, and I had no clue where I was going to go. I had just made this large investment, so I didn't even really have money saved to put a down payment on to move somewhere. So God just made that work for me, where I was able to tell my client she found someone. He happened to be from where my parents are from, gave me opportunity to be there at that place. We were going to grow a business together and partner. And so I started like hiring stylists, right? A lot of things did not go the way that it should have went. I think just like roles weren't defined, and I tried to define those roles. But I learned a lot of lessons from that experience that I'll get to on the back end as well. And one of them being, make sure you talk up, be assertive, say what you actually mean and mean what you actually say. And also don't take it personal, right? So I learned that. And I'll get into detail, like I said. And so with that situation, it went, I would say left, but left in a beautiful way that it needed to be. Because I was with one of my stylists for almost, I would say 8 years, but it was 7 years. 7 years, because what made me realize it was 7 years, I kind of added a year onto that, and that was not correct. It was 7 years. And 7, I'm putting detail on that, because 7 is the year of completion. That relationship came to completion, okay? And so that's why that relationship had to end. I was with her from almost the beginning, right? Out of my house. And so we moved into the suite together. We grew together. I pushed her to become better and, have that confidence. Meanwhile, I'm pushing her, I'm building my own, right? I wasn't there always either. And so as I grew, I saw myself and her in that way of business, because we both kind of was just new at it, but I was pushing her as well as pushing myself. And so I saw so much potential in her and more that she could do. But then I also did see how it weighs that eventually we would have to split. And natural evolution will let that occur anyway, that separation. And I have no problem with people growing out of their roles or position in my life and needed to go. But I just kind of wish that that would have went different because we had built a relationship after so many years. And it was one that it was kind of like family, right? But I did always have that differentiation between business and family. And sometimes because of that, it would merge. And I really didn't want that. I wanted business to be business. And outside of that, we can be cool. But not a lot of times did that person know how to do that. And so when I was hiring other stylists, I could kind of see the insubordination that would occur. And I would have these talks, but because lines were crossed, I just kind of knew that it was time. And because in my heart, I always decide to look out for people's well-being, financially, mentally, that I couldn't find it in my heart to do that. So guess what God did? Allowed her to do that so that we can separate. And I think it was the best decision that could have been made for both of us, for her to grow, find her own way, for me to grow and find my own way and to elevate, because I am really on that place of elevation. And so I'm not going to speak any bad. I just didn't like how it went. It could have went so much different because I think that I needed the opportunity to have a conversation, but not everybody feels that way. It was just like separate, attitude, and it just ended. And it didn't have to be a problem for it to end, but there were problems. So, hey, it is what it is, but here I am, okay? And like I said, it was the best thing that could have been done for me because my heart feels light. It feels happy being on my own, doing my own thing. And I could really have that clarity and figure out me and not have to think for anyone else. And I've always considered other people before myself. So I'm super proud, super happy that this is where I am. So with that being said, the other factor of dealing with growing a salon and people, I realized I didn't want to manage people and their attitudes, me being empathic and heavy on energy, like I could feel energy really heavily. That did not work out for me because I started feeling like this gnawing feeling in my chest that every time I walked in there, it was just like, heavy, right? And so I'm so glad I left that situation. From those who've been to the place, seen how it looked, it wasn't desirable. And I knew that wasn't going to happen overnight. But it was just a lot. And I'm pretty sure, the owner of the building took some lessons out the page to do something a little bit different. And so, like I said, every time I leave someone, a situation, a relationship, I give them something to think about. And I always leave them better than how I met them. Let's just say that. And I'm not tooting my horn or being haughty or pompous of any kind. That's what you should do, though. In this life, anybody you meet, you should leave them better than what they were before. And so people have done the same for me because I've become better out of each trial and tribulation or experience. I've gained something out of it. And that's life. That's how life should be. Should always want to become better or come out on the better side. Okay. All right. So clients. All right. Blocked a lot of clients. I would never say I lost clients because who's for me or for me, who gravitates to me, they're for me. And if they're not for me, they will not be. And so I no longer try to hold on to people who's not for me. At this point in my life, you're either for me energetically, spiritually, consciously, all of those things. We align in some way. If we don't, I'm not here to make it work. I'm not trying to do that. Deuces. Great life to you. No insult. None of that. It just, we're not in alignment, and that's okay. That is completely okay. Because what I found, people, clients, all those people, it's a natural part of us. They project a lot of their shit onto you. And me being an empath, I used to internalize all of those things. Like I would internalize so many things, and it would just sink me as a person. I would start changing to become better in their presence, or to try to be in alignment with them. Like the friendships that I had when they told me they were jealous of me, I would literally dim my light. And I saw myself doing that, shrinking in a box to make them feel comfortable around me. And that is the worst thing you could do, because I had to take the time again to find Janice, find the essence of her, who she is at her core. And I did the work, okay? And I am never losing myself to anyone, anything, any situation. If I have to shrink who I am, it doesn't align. It doesn't align. And so I had to appreciate the fact that they could be bold enough or even honest with themselves enough to say, hey, I want to have a conversation. There's something about you that I feel jealous of. And that response should have went so different, but because I really was earning, and this is from childhood trauma that I went through, and I'm glad I did the work about that. I really wanted to have friendships. I was this person who would just, the minute someone does me something wrong or I feel uncomfortable, I will block them, right? And I wouldn't even give the benefit of a conversation to let them know, like, this is not working, blah, blah, blah. I would just block them. And so I felt like this is why I felt that loneliness and I didn't have friends around, and I wanted to change that. So I thought these people were in alignment because they were church, and I was really heavily into the church. Me and my husband was a deacon. And so I thought, and they were married. And they had kids. And so I thought that really aligned, like it made it purposeful, because I was always looking for people who were married in church and God had, just had this thing for God. And I thought I found them. And what I realized, that relationship became very competitive, like who knew more about God, to the point that it came like they were trying to fix us or we were trying to fix each other. And it felt kind of cultic in a sense, because we decided to put God in this bubble and us being in the bubble with God. And this world is so expansive, so broad, so giant, it can't fit, and so infinite for us to do that to each other. And when you find that relationships turn into competition, that's when it becomes toxic. And I knew that it was time to end. But like me, I didn't want to be that person who blocked, who did this anymore. So I felt like I needed to stick it out and see where it goes. And it just kind of kept going left and left. And that person also dismissed themselves out of my life. And then the other person that was attached, I did what I do best. I blocked. And I received the email and I responded back in the email, and it wasn't extensive. It wasn't apologetic. It was very dismissive. Parts of me feel bad about that. But the other part is like, that's how I always did things. Just block. So you're lucky you even got an email, a response, right? And so I've grown from that exponentially. So let's go back. I'm one of those people who will block, or I would just, if I have to, like marital wise, because you can't block your husband, I would just shut down. So those are the two things that I was used to. And those two things are both trauma responses. And so, like I said, I did the work. This is a new Janice. So all those experiences worked out for the betterment of me. And I do truly believe that, right? Even the worst things that happen to you in life, it is always working out for you. What God allows to happen to you is happening for you. I don't know how to explain that, because some of you might be like, what? But this happened to me, childhood, I was touched, whatever the case this happened to me. How's that working out for me? All I can say, I've been there too. And so I do believe that your pain gives you purpose in life. And so you may not see it now, depending on where you are in life, but if you have evolved to understand who God is in your life and that he's in you, you'd understand where I'm coming from. So those who understand, let's rock with it. All right. Definitely leave a comment below. Make sure you subscribe, all that good stuff. Okay. I hate advertising in the middle of videos, but I got to remember that part too, because I do want this to impact other people. So if this impacted you, please do share with another person and comment below. Show your girl some love. All right. Okay. So lesson time. Lost investments. What I've learned out of those lost investments is that really take your time. Take your time. There is no rush to spend your money. And I think why I got to that place is because I earned 6 figures so quickly that part of me was scared that I'd lose it. And I heard someone say, if you have your money sitting down, it's not working for you. You have to put your money to work. And so that's what I thought that I should do, is put my money to work. And I'm not saying that you should not, but there's no rush. Like it's burning a hole in your pocket because it's just sitting there. And I did really well for myself in those years of business. That 6 figures was just like, wow, Janice, I can't believe you built something and did this for yourself. Like, wow. And so because I didn't want to lose that momentum, I went into investments and I did good the first time. And I thought I hit this streak and I didn't want that streak to be over, right? So I was just like, all right, we got to keep it going, And there's people who have just consistently win. But they don't tell you how many times they lost as well in prior to their winning season. All right. Everybody has a season. This was lesson season. Okay. Trials, tribulations bring the lessons. Okay. And after that, you get the testimony. All right. Don't be afraid to go through this season. I was trying to avoid this at all costs, but I knew God was doing something because all these changes, I was just like, it was breathtaking. Like I felt like I held my breath the whole way through. And I also felt like time sped up. So that's why I felt like I just needed to keep going. And at the end of this year, I feel like a complete resting point. Like I'm in a period of rest. Mentally, spiritually, physically, all those good things. So like I said, don't rush. Don't rush your blessings. Don't rush to make a decision. Take your time. Listen. Tap in. God will tell you because all the signs was there. I didn't understand them because I didn't take my time to pay attention to what those were in order to take my time and make a better decision. And my partners were rushing too because they were excited. Excitement is something. Excitement is fun. Excitement is beautiful, but do take your time even when you're excited and use the other part of your mind, the part that my husband loves to use, which is logic and reasoning. But I get excited and I hype them up and got them excited too. So we didn't use much of that. Only during the process that I realized like, yo, we're backing out of this thing, and we backed out of it. And I felt bad about backing out, but at the same time, like I knew we was going to sink ourselves further because I kept insisting that we back out even earlier because I saw all the signs eventually. And I think we would have took a less of a loss if my partners listened to me. So will I partner again? I don't think so. I think the only partner I will partner with is my life partner. And that experience with partnering with my life partner, I didn't even talk about that. Me and him went into business together. And I realized there was so much we needed to work on, such as communication. And on my end, especially not shutting down, speaking up. That was another thing. Speak up, be assertive, mean what you say so people can take you seriously. Know how to communicate and stop shutting down. That was part of the situation too with the loss of investment with my partners, is me not being taken as seriously, people really hearing me, or me stating consequences. This is what my therapist taught me. She said, you skip steps. You shut down or you block. She said, you're skipping steps. Communicate. Have a conversation. and also state your consequences if it does not meet what you communicated. And so this is something I will take forward into my life. I'm so excited for 2024 because I know I will have opportunities to excel and grow and do things differently and really hone in on communication and not shutting down because you're not being heard. In childhood, I was so used to not being heard, being dismissed. And so because of that, I just learned to shut down or just like block the whole situation. And that blocking might have come from also being dismissed and things happening to me that I just couldn't fight as a child. And so, you go through fight or flight. And so my flight was blocking the whole entire situation, out of sight, out of mind. And that's what I did with people and situations, unfortunately. But it was something that protected me as a youth. And so that was needed. But in my adulthood, I have the power to protect myself, as she told me. Tell that little girl, you're okay, you're safe. You have the power to protect her. When I tell you, I bawled when she said that. I feel so emotional because that little girl never felt protected. And so I have the power to do that now, right? So thumbs up for that. Anyways, so also learning that about the inner circle, same situation, both investments. Take your time. Don't rush to a decision. And they use different tactics too to get you looped into that. Some stuff that they had said that they would do, they did not. And so I shut down with that too. I didn't push forward to make sure that it was done. And I should have, as much as I spent, I should have gotten every last thing they promised. And so that was what pissed me off and made me feel like they were a fraud. But it was me not standing up and saying, hey, you guys did not do this. You did not do that as promised. And so that's something I should have stood up for and fought for. And I'm learning to do that instead of retreating. Okay. Like I said, that came from childhood experiences, the flight or fawn. I've learned this through a client too, something I did a lot as well. That's what happened with the close relationships. I fawned them. And what that means is, I'll leave that down there in the description. I'll pull it up so you can see what fawning is. But I just shrink myself to my own demise in friendships that were not in line for me or good for me. And I did not assert or put up any boundaries. Neither did I respect boundaries because I didn't have any for myself. So that was a lesson. When I told a client that, I was like, I never respected boundaries because not even that, I didn't have boundaries. So when people gave me boundaries, I felt some kind of way. And I felt disrespected in a sense because I didn't have any for myself. I didn't know what that looked like. And so having boundaries set up for you, it felt like, but wait a minute, I thought we were like this. Boundaries. So yeah, that was something I had to learn how to reassert it with family. That right there is hard. And that was one of the trials and tribulations too that I experienced because I was healing that little girl, and it was a lot of healing that needed to go on between mother and daughter relationship. Because she was a big part of that experience growing up as an only child, and my father as well. So I'm still kind of healing from that and need to have some conversations. But then sometimes I realize like people, when they aren't ready for the conversation, it doesn't make a point to push. Sometimes forgiveness and healing is for yourself and not for the other person. So I've learned that as well. It's that releasing, that desire that was once there to be loved, to be understood, to be heard. And I'm like, you're grown now. They're already grown. And I also realized they're humans with their own shit too. They were just figuring it out, learning, experiencing life. And so I give them a lot of grace because as I am an adult and I see my kids growing up, I want them to know, I mess up too. I'm human, okay? I'm not this superficial person, or I'm not your God, okay? I know you look up to me, but there is greater out there, and I want you to be better than me even, you know? So took me some time, and I am so grateful for my therapist at BetterHelp. She is from, I think, Ethiopia. Just an amazing person. She understood culture, diversity, all that great stuff. I think she was the perfect person for me. Definitely helped a lot with my negative self-talks, how I viewed myself. And I think I viewed myself as weak because there was a lot of things that happened to me in childhood that I had, like I couldn't fight, right? And so it made me feel like I allowed these things to happen when that wasn't the case. That's the story I told myself. Like, you could have done something different. You could have talked up, but you didn't. So maybe you deserved it. So it was like a lot of negative self-talk. And I grew from that. I started to understand a lot of my triggers and those places that I was operating from that was toxic. I had a lot of triggers in my marriage. And just being released from that feels so good. I feel so much lighter. And now it's just finding direction in my life because I feel like I just want to help other people now. But really just more so live my life, right? And I'm sharing because this is my testimony. I want to make this some sort of journal of progress, right? And so while I was having all these monetary successes, my personal life was not the best. And so I feel like God took me on a journey of, okay, and a lot of people have these experiences. So interesting. Like, they gain money, then they lose it all. And then it goes back onto reflection of self. Like, why did this happen to me? And then God gives you that moment to learn from all your mistakes. From, okay, why did I do this? Now you got to dig deeper, from childhood, spiritually, mentally, physically. I lost a whole bunch of weight, gained it back. Being consistent was an issue. So it's like I've gotten and tasted and done all the things and then lost it. And now I feel like when I do get that back, that's just going to be a lifestyle. Because now I've healed that part of me that needed to be healed for me to be consistent in. And for me to be me and to release all those things, those negative self-talks that I can't do this, I can't do that, I'm this, I'm that. All those things that were not me. And so I'm super grateful for healing my inner child. Also, projections. Okay, let's get back to the relationships and client relationships, all kind of relationship, platonics, client business, romantic. The other part of me is because I internalized what was said to me as a child and almost everything people said to me. I wanted to change myself to be around them or meet their expectations, because that was something that I did as a people pleaser as a child, and being empathic and just wanted others to be happy, that fawning part. I did that a lot with every relationship, that you legit lose yourself. The first time I lost myself was in my marriage. Wanted to be this perfect person, this perfect wife, this worthy to be his wife, when he never asked for that. But that is something that I found myself doing. So I lost myself totally in the whole relationship. And then I had to find myself back again. And that took a lot of mental work and knowing my self-worth and loving myself. Knowing that I was worthy of good things. I was also worthy of love and all that good stuff. And so I went through that part of my life. And not saying that I was perfect, but I went through that and I did the work. And so I had to do the same thing when it came to friendships. And the word that kept coming up in that area was detach. And so I had to learn to detach emotionally and mentally. And, because clients will project a lot of stuff onto you. Friends will project a lot of stuff onto you from that jealousy part. You're too this, you're too that, you're too great, you're too special, you're too, and it was just like, I always tried to be relatable. It was like, yo, I'm sucky too. I do this too. I do that too. And then God says, stop relating to people like that. Stop. Stop trying to relate to, be a part, right? Because growing up, I was really lonely. I was that outcast child. I had a lot of shit going on. Grew up in a home full of domestic violence. And so it's just weird. I felt like a weird kid, displaced, didn't really have friends. I had one good friend, met her at 8 years old. Interesting story how that started. But she's still my best friend to this day. So genuine, so caring, so kind, so dope. Sagittarius like me. None of that means anything, but I love her energy. I love her spirit. She never required me to be anything other than myself. And she understands me. I understand her. We have boundaries. We have a healthy ass relationship that I am so grateful for. Anyway, so yeah. That right there said a lot. Our relationship evolved in so many ways. And when we needed to set boundaries, it was respected. We cried tears. We communicated. That was a relationship that at one point I tried to mess that up and give up on that because that's the only way that I know how to do things when I feel hurt. And instead of having a conversation, and she wouldn't let me. She no, I can't believe you would do that to me. After all these years, and it did hurt me to know that I was willing to do that because that's the only way I knew how to do, was to just block and cut off an entire relationship of many years without having a conversation, expressing how I feel, her expressing how she felt, and us putting healthy boundaries up in place. We didn't even have to say, hey, here's a boundary. This is what you ain't gonna do. We didn't even have to do that. It was just understood. Right? And we have this level of respect for one another that just certain lines we know not to cross again. And we do have that conversation this made me feel that way. And I'm sorry and forgive me. And I love you. And that's kind of like Hana Hana. I think that's Hawaii, Hakapona, something like that. Anyways, I'll leave it there for you to understand that too. Check it out. But that definitely do help a lot. And so with these friendships that people just kind of preyed on empathic people and knew that I had that desire to fawn. Okay, I'm going to say that word a lot because I just learned it and I didn't know that was part of the 4 F's. I thought it was 3: fight, or flight, they usually say, or freeze. And so freeze is one of them too. I do fight. So you use all of them, okay? Because that's just how we were made as human species. But it really helped back then where we were, catching prey. But we're not like that anymore, we kind of are. People find certain people as predators. When you see yourself as weak, you can become prey to a lot of people. And I realized that that's what I was making myself out to be. All right. So now I got that little grit ready to what? And I still will block too. There's instances I will still block. Like a client, I'll block though. Out of client. Okay. Without hesitation. I ain't got time for that. Deuces. And I ain't got to explain myself unless I want to. Cause some people, you just gotta know that explaining yourself ain't gonna do shit but cause an argument, and I ain't got the strength for it, okay? So I will block you. The only time I will argue with someone is my loved one, my husband. If we need to argue for us to have a better communication to understand, I'd rather me argue than shut down, because your girl ain't shutting down no more. You don't get nothing from freezing. That's the shutdown. Freeze. Anyway, so like I said, the Lord told me to detach, right? A lot of people were projecting things on you, and it's not for you to internalize. That's their own shit. It has nothing to do with you. dismiss that. That is not you. That ain't how you made. Whatever they say, it is not any reflection of you. It's just a projection of them onto you. So you don't need to internalize that to reflect upon it as if it is you. So I no longer subscribe to that. It's just like, okay, you didn't like your hair because your husband told you this is out of place and it was not what you wanted him to perceive or the reaction that you wanted. You didn't get. It has nothing to do with me. I did my job. You left it in my chair before you got home. That sounds like a you and your husband problem, not my issue. Go figure that out. Or if you have low self-esteem, you left my chair and then you're like, all right, you have problems with all your stylists from what I heard. I listened to you very well. I will listen, but I will not internalize. And I'm like, yeah, this is your MO. I don't think anybody knows how to do your hair. Maybe you should take a course so you can learn how to do your own shit, and then you'll probably be happy. Or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe you need to fix something internally, right? Got nothing to do with me. So I learned to detach when it came to clients. And I also learned how to detach when it comes to people in my family, even my husband. We were having a conversation and I was like, there were times that you made fun of my laugh or my sense of humor, or said I took a lot of pictures. And I would look at that as a real complaint that I needed to fix so that you're happy. There goes the fawning again, or whatever. So you won't look at me this kind of way. Like I care too much about how people looked at me. And so I was like, yo, that's me. He knows me. He's just stating how I am. And that doesn't mean that I stop. Unless he's not in the mood and say, yo, I don't want to take pictures. Then I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to do me. But this is not negative. It's not anything wrong with them saying that because they just stating, here she goes with her pictures. Yes, because I love to keep memories. I look back at my pictures all the time. I'm like, look at my babies. And I show him, he'd be like, oh, so if I didn't take those pictures, there would have been no odds or for you to look back on. So gladfully, I love to take pictures. Okay. So we have memories to look back on forever and ever. My mom had no baby pictures. And I was like, I don't get to see how she looked as a baby. Did I look like her when I was a baby? Did my daughter look like her as a baby? And I really think she does. But I don't get to see those pictures because they didn't have it to take pictures back when they were babies. At least that's what I was told. So I take pleasure in taking and captivating and savoring all those moments so I can look back on when I'm having a bad day, or I miss when my babies were babies, or I just want to feel romantic, or I want to post something about me and my husband, and I can do that. And he loves it. So he just be saying it. So, and other people, I come to that. I don't give a fuck what other people think about me. And that's why I cussed. That caught you. Yes. I am a believer. I don't subscribe to Christianity because religion-based faith is like convoluted at this point. So I'm a believer of Jesus Christ and his word. I believe in one supreme being. I believe that there were many teachers who taught about God because they all believe in a one supreme being. Do I believe that there's many gods? No, there's one supreme God. And when people say there's God in me, there's God in each and every one of us. God is he's infinite. Okay. So all this, separation, come on, just stop. Anyways, so I've evolved in so many ways out of this trial and tribulations that I am super grateful. Yes, did I almost lose my mind? I kind of felt like it, but God was carrying me and he kept me, and I did the work spiritually, mentally, better help. Thank God for it. Okay. I did the work in silence, was seeing my therapist like every 2 weeks, if not every week. I grew to this point that I'm super proud of the person that I am. And right now I'm at this place where, yes, 2023 came with a lot. 2022, I think even from 2020 all the way, okay, came with a lot. I think I started my evolution at that point. And my first experience of elevating was my conscious mind. 2019, I heard the shift was coming and I had no clue. that this will impact me in so many ways and so many others, because you're hearing this experience that I'm talking about with so many different people in so many different ways where they affected. So I think this was one universal conscious experience for us to all shift into a better place, into a higher frequency, a higher dimension. Because time just feel like it's sped up. And what I realized was 2023 was the year of completion, 7. So that chapter of my life is complete. The book has been closed, okay? And we go into 2024 with new beginnings, okay? Everything that we learned, we will now implement in 2024, from all the different things, from financially to physically to spiritually to mentally, and really become that in this physical 3D experience, okay, with our higher conscious mind, okay? So I said a mouthful, and so I hope this helps somebody. And if you're in this place, just keep going, keep seeking. We all come to at a different time and different experience. It doesn't have to be that you complete it in 2024. This experience, you might have completed something else, maybe not on this scale, maybe even on a higher scale. We are all at different stages and phases of our life. So whatever that looks like for you, keep going, be proud of yourself, celebrate your journey. And don't forget, self-love is the best kind of love there is. Once you love yourself and you know who you are, nobody can't tell you who you are. And you don't have to prove shit to nobody. Keep being you, stand firm in you, and you're made so uniquely. I want you to know that you are made so uniquely that nobody knows you better than the good Lord, and you do within. Don't forget that. Never seek to change yourself for anybody unless you're changing for the betterment of yourself. So keep being authentically you. There will never be another you. So stand firm in that. And people are looking for more people like you. Okay, so if you're called to do something significant, the only way you can be that significant thing is if you stand in your power. And that is being authentically you. All right, peace out. Love you.